This is obviously really out of tune. This is a ukulele. Let's go ahead and tune it together because yours probably needs to be tuned. Mine needs to be tuned. Let's figure it out. Okay, so let's learn a few things first. I have a whole other video for like a whole uke intro, but for now, we're just going to talk about a few parts, about the strings mainly, and about how they attach and how it tunes and how all that works. All the strings on most instruments, on most ukuleles anyway, they end up staying right about here. This is where they start out, right? So they don't move from here. This is just a spot they stay. They go over the bridge, which is that little white part. It's kind of the only thing that gets touched between this part and this part. It's kind of why it's called a bridge. And so after that, the strings go all the way down here, and they're real tight. And they go over this part called the nut, which is kind of like a 0 fret, you know. It's called the nut, and then it goes back, and it winds onto these little coils here. See that? And so they wind this direction from the inside out, just like that, right? So if we follow each string, it makes a lot of sense. The one closest to us is the first one that we see. Next one down is the next one up the uke. The next one on the other side of the middle is this next one that's in the same position as the other middle string. And then the last string on the bottom is the last peg on the opposite of the first one that we use. So these are tuning machines, or sometimes called pegs. They're machines because inside of here, they do work. So they're going to go ahead and turn this gear in here. This is like a little corkscrew, and it turns a gear, and so that turns this little pole, and that tightens the string onto it, right? So an important part of tuning is trying to make sure that these guys stay tight. So the easiest way to do that is to tune up at the very end. The last thing that you do to be tuning up, that way those coils are nice and tight. That's a really big deal. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of these notes. We got to know the names of these of the strings before we can figure out what to tune them to, obviously. So if we start from the very top string up here, the one that's like highest up in space, then this is a G normally. So it's normally G, C, E, A. Now that's not true for our ukulele right now. It's way out of tune. Right now it's kind of a sharp G. C is pretty good. Ooh, the E string's totally off. The A is a little sharp. So let's go ahead and go through them real quick and fix them. So let's start on that A. The A is only a little bit sharp, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go down to just underneath the A, right? And then I'm going to come back up to it. Alrighty. I probably could have put this in the screen a little bit more, but I'm barely turning these tuning knobs. I mean, it is very, very little. We'll show you on the next one. So, that's pretty in tune. Alright, so now we have this one. So this is supposed to be an E, but right now it's showing up as like a C sharp. Maybe a D, really low D. So we're going to go ahead and bring it up. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of imagine we're going to go this direction. And it brings that note up little by little. So I'm going very slowly and I'm plucking the whole time. That way I can hear exactly how far I've gone. And I know it feels like it's going to take a long time, but going slow is pretty good. It just keeps your string intact, make sure you know where you're at, you know? Alright, we're getting there, so we're going to slow down a little bit. Very small movements. we're there. Right to the middle without really going over. We can go over a tiny bit, but as long as it's not over too far, that's what matters. We really want to make sure that we're getting this green light right in the middle if we're using one of these chord tuners. We really want to make sure that we're getting this little bar all the way to the middle and that it's aiming at the note that we actually want it to be, right? Same thing with this guy down here. We want to make sure the note that we want is right there in the corner. Normally that's supposed to say 440, but it depends on what's going on. So, our A is in tune. We're aimed straight up. We're green lights. All right. Same thing with our E. I'm going to bring it up just a tiny bit, but it's looking really good. Ooh, C is a little bit sharp, so why don't we go ahead, we're going to bring it down a little and bring it back up. Now we're going to bring it back up. Alright, that's pretty good. So that one's too sharp. So again, we're going to bring it down. And now we're going to go right back up to G. Alright. Alright, so that's all the strings. We have our nice G, C, E, and A. I do want to show you real quick, I do want to show you real quick at the end. I just want to show you what happens when we lower a string and we don't come back up. So right now I'm going to lower this all the way to, actually we're going to bring this up to D. Alright, so we're at C sharp right now. I'm not going to quite bring it all the way up to D, but I'm going to lower it. We're going to go back down to C. Okay, so all I did was lower it. I haven't gone back up yet at the end. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give my string a little tug, kind of like as if I was playing on it for a while. Right, so we're going to sort of pretend like we're playing on it for an extra long time. Now let's see whether our C string is in tune or not. See, now it's low. So when we lowered it, we loosened this coil right here. And by playing on it, we sort of pulled on the string, and that tightened the coil back up again. So when it tightened the coil, all the looseness of the coil went into the string. So that made the string go down. So now, this string's too low, even though we tuned it to the right spot. So if you want it to stay in tune, the last thing that you gotta do is come back up to the note. Now if I pull on it, it still stays in tune. See? Alright. Well, that's how to tune a ukulele. There's a lot of extra sounds that are going to be happening here at the end of it, but good luck. If there's any other questions or anything else that you need, then by all means, ask away. Bye.